You fired her for helping a student? Shame on you. Emily, a dedicated teacher, noticed that one of her students, Tommy, had been wearing the same worn-out shoes for weeks. Without hesitation, she bought him a new pair. But this simple act of kindness cost her the job she loved. Just 2 days later, a mysterious phone call would change her life forever. Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Tales. Today I'm excited to share a new story with you. Emily loved her job as a teacher. She had always wanted to make a difference in children's lives. She worked at a small school in her town, where many of the students came from low-income families. This school was not like the others. It was often overlooked, and resources were always limited. But Emily knew how important her role was. She believed that every child deserved a chance to succeed, no matter their background. One day, as she was preparing her class for the morning, she noticed Tommy sitting quietly at his desk. He wasn't his usual cheerful self. Emily knew something was wrong. She walked over to him and gently asked if he was okay. Tommy looked down at his shoes. They were old, with holes, and his socks were peeking through. He tried to hide them, but Emily had already seen. Later that afternoon, when all the children had left, Emily thought about Tommy's shoes. She couldn't stop thinking about how he must have felt. Embarrassed and uncomfortable. She knew his family was struggling financially, and she wanted to help in any way she could. That evening, on her way home, Emily stopped at a shoe store and bought a new pair for Tommy. It wasn't much, but she hoped it would make a difference. The next day, she quietly gave Tommy the shoes before class started. His eyes lit up with joy, and he smiled for the first time in days. He thanked her softly, and Emily felt a warmth in her heart. But what Emily didn't know was that her kind gesture would not go unnoticed, and soon, something she could never have imagined would happen. A few days after Emily gave Tommy the new shoes, she was called into the principal's office. She had no idea what it was about. As she entered the room, she noticed the principal, Mr. Davidson, sitting behind his desk with a serious look on his face. Emily sat down, feeling a bit nervous. "Emily," Mr. Davidson began, "I've been informed that you purchased a pair of shoes for one of your students. Is that true?" Emily nodded. "Yes, I bought Tommy some shoes because his were falling apart. I just wanted to help." Mr. Davidson sighed and leaned back in his chair. "While I understand your intentions, you've broken the school's policy. We cannot have teachers giving personal gifts to students. It creates problems, and we must remain fair to everyone. I'm sorry, but this is a serious issue." Emily felt her heart sink. She had never imagined that something as simple as buying shoes could be wrong. She explained how she only wanted to make Tommy feel comfortable, but the principal's face remained stern. "I understand your heart was in the right place," he said, "but we have to follow the rules. Unfortunately, this is a serious violation, and the school board has decided to take action." Emily's hands trembled. "What kind of action?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Davidson looked at her sadly. "Emily, I have no choice but to let you go." Those words hit her like a heavy blow. Fired. For helping a student. Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had always given her best to the school, and now, because of one small act of kindness, her career was over. As she packed her things that day, she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of injustice. She had lost her job. But more than that, she felt lost herself. Was it wrong to care? Was it wrong to help someone in need? Emily returned home that evening, unsure of what to do next. The job had meant everything to her. Without it, she felt empty. She tried to hold back her tears, but they fell anyway. She had always believed in doing the right thing, but now she was being punished for it. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of her story. The next morning, Emily woke up feeling unsure of her future. She had always been a teacher. It was more than just a job to her. It was her passion. Now, with that taken away, she didn't know what she would do next. As she sipped her coffee and stared out the window, her phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. Confused, she hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hello," she said softly. "Is this Emily?" a voice on the other end asked. It was a calm and polite voice, but Emily didn't recognize it. Yes, this is she. Who's calling? My name is Jonathan Reeves, the man said. You don't know me, but I've heard about what happened at your school. Emily's heart raced. Who was this man, and how did he know about her? She didn't know how to respond, so she stayed silent. I'm a businessman, Jonathan continued, and I recently learned about how you helped one of your students, Tommy, by buying him new shoes. I know you were fired for your kindness, and I think that was deeply unfair. Emily was still in shock. She had never heard of Jonathan Reeves, but his words were kind and understanding. Thank you, Emily finally said, her voice trembling. It means a lot to hear that, but I don't know what I'm going to do now. Teaching was my whole life. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then Jonathan spoke again. I believe in people like you, Emily. People who act with kindness and don't expect anything in return. That's why I'd like to offer you an opportunity. Emily's eyes widened. What kind of opportunity? I own a foundation that supports teachers and helps children in need. I've been looking for someone with a heart like yours to join us. I'd like to offer you a job with my foundation. You would be helping children on a much larger scale. Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing. After everything that had happened, now there was this. A chance to not only continue helping children, but to make an even bigger impact. I don't know what to say, Emily stammered. Jonathan's voice was warm as he replied, Take your time to think about it. But know that your kindness hasn't gone unnoticed. Sometimes, when one door closes, another opens, and this could be the start of something even greater. As Emily hung up the phone, she sat in silence for a moment. It was hard to process everything. In just a few days, she had lost her job, and now, a complete stranger was offering her a chance to change her life. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in days, she felt hope. In the days that followed, Emily couldn't stop thinking about Jonathan Reeves' offer. It seemed too good to be true. She had never imagined that one simple act of kindness could lead to something like this. But she was still unsure. Could she really trust someone she had never met? To clear her mind, Emily decided to visit Tommy's neighborhood. She hadn't seen him since she was fired, and she wanted to make sure he was doing okay. As she walked through the familiar streets, she noticed how different the world felt now that she wasn't teaching anymore. Everything seemed quieter. When she reached Tommy's house, his mother opened the door. Her face lit up when she saw Emily. Miss Emily, she said warmly, I don't know how to thank you for what you did for Tommy. You really changed his life. Emily smiled, feeling a sense of peace. It was nothing, she said. I just wanted to help. Tommy's mother shook her head. It was more than just shoes, Miss Emily. You made him feel special, like someone cared about him. That's something money can't buy. As they talked, Emily realized how much she missed being a part of her students' lives. But at the same time, she knew that what happened at the school couldn't be undone. The principal had made his decision, and she had to move on. But where? Later that evening, as Emily sat in her small apartment, she thought more about Jonathan's offer. She couldn't deny that it was an incredible opportunity, but it also felt overwhelming. Could she really step into a new world, leaving behind everything she had known? Just as she was about to drift off to sleep, her phone rang again. It was Jonathan. Emily, I hope I'm not calling too late, he said gently. No. It's fine, Emily replied. I just wanted to see if you've had time to think about my offer, Jonathan continued. I understand it's a big decision. Emily took a deep breath. I have thought about it, she said slowly, and I've decided. I'd like to accept your offer. Jonathan sounded genuinely pleased. That's wonderful news, Emily. I believe this is just the beginning of something amazing for you. We'll arrange everything and get you started as soon as possible. As Emily hung up, she felt a strange mixture of excitement and nervousness. Her life was about to change in ways she couldn't have imagined. What had started as a simple act of kindness had now opened a door to something much bigger. Something that would allow her to help children, not just in her town, but all over. Emily went to bed that night feeling a sense of peace. She didn't know exactly what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was on the right path. Weeks later, Emily found herself standing in front of a large, modern building. It was the headquarters of Jonathan Reeves Foundation. The place felt vast, but welcoming. As she walked through the doors, she couldn't help but think about how much her life had changed in such a short time. Inside, Emily was greeted by a team of friendly faces. Jonathan had arranged everything, and soon she was part of a team working on projects that helped children in need across the country. It was more than she had ever dreamed of. She was no longer limited to just her classroom. Now, she was able to make a difference in the lives of so many more children. One afternoon, as Emily sat at her desk, she received an email from Jonathan. He wanted to meet her for lunch to discuss a new project. Curious, she agreed, and they met at a small cafe downtown. As they sat across from each other, Jonathan smiled warmly. "I've been so impressed with the work you've done since joining us," he said. "I knew you were the right person for the job." Emily felt a wave of gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "It's been an incredible experience. I can't believe how much has changed." Jonathan leaned forward. "I wanted to talk to you about something special. I know how passionate you are about helping children, and I've been thinking, I want to start a new program in your name, something that reflects your heart and your kindness." Emily was taken aback. "A program? In my name?" "Yes," Jonathan nodded. "A scholarship fund that will provide not just shoes but clothing, school supplies, and support for children in need. All across the country. We'll call it the Emily's Heart Fund. It will be a way to carry on the spirit of what you did for Tommy, helping those who need it most." Tears filled Emily's eyes as she listened. She couldn't believe it. What had started as a simple act of kindness was now turning into something so much bigger. Her name would be attached to a legacy of helping children, a cause that was so close to her heart. "I don't know what to say," Emily whispered. "This is beyond anything I ever imagined." Jonathan smiled. "You deserve it, Emily. The world needs more people like you. This is just the beginning." Over the following months, the Emily's Heart Fund became a reality. The program helped countless children, and Emily found a new sense of purpose in her life. Her story had come full circle. She had lost her job for helping one child, but now she was helping many more. It was a reminder that kindness, even in its smallest forms, can create ripples that lead to unimaginable changes. As Emily stood at the opening ceremony for the scholarship fund, she looked out at the crowd. She saw the faces of children who would benefit from the program, and she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her journey had been difficult, but it had led her here, to a place where she could make a real difference in the world. Love this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mystic Tales for more.